If you're not drinking enough water, if you are even mildly dehydrated and you're struggling to lose fat, this could be something that you absolutely need to watch. In fact, it's not could be, it is absolutely something you need to watch. I've been doing so much research recently on new and evolving studies that are coming through to share the importance of fat storage, but also dehydration. So welcome to my channel. My name is Kate Hartley. I share a weekly video with you every Monday about something related to menopause. If you've got anything you want to cover in a future episode, just send me a message and I'll be glad to add it to my rotation. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already so that you don't miss future episodes. So back to today's discussion. If you're really struggling to lose fat, there are several things that you probably need to be aware of that you may not yet be aware of. You hear of everybody saying, make sure you drink loads of water. Water is absolutely key to just having a healthy functioning system. So much of our bodies are made up of water. So if you're not drinking enough, make sure you do. And just to know how much water you should be drinking before I dive into sort of the scientific-y stuff behind the scenes, without making it too scientific, it's your body weight in pounds, divide that by 2, and that's the amount of fluid ounces of water you should be drinking at an absolute minimum every single day. If you work out, you should be drinking more. If you're getting a lot of hot flushes from your menopause, you should be drinking more. If you live in a very hot climate or indeed a very cold climate because you're breathing out more water vapor, you also need to be drinking more. So for instance, if you weigh 140 pounds, you want to be aiming to drink 70 fluid ounces of water every single day. I think one of the easiest ways to get water in is to have it stack. So as soon as you wake up, have a large glass of water, ideally with maybe juice of half a lemon, warm water because it's kinder on your body. Have that, and it's easy to drink. Have that, and then every time you go to the toilet, have another glass of water, and then you just have it stacked, and that will help you get into the habit of drinking more water. And also just make sure you've always got a glass of water with you so that you can continuously keep drinking, because what you don't want to do also is just like guzzle a massive amount. You want it sort of continuously throughout the course of the day. So why is water so important? I'm just going to share a little bit of information first about why camels, you might think this is really rather strange, don't die in the desert. How do whales stay alive, bearing in mind they don't drink salt water? Well, the reason for that is fat can be converted into water. So there is a mechanism that specifically helps mammals like bears, for instance, hibernate. So about 8 weeks prior to a bear going into hibernation, it literally gorges itself with food. Bear's main food source, particularly prior to hibernation, is the fruits and the berries are all out. It will gorge on fruit. Well, we all know that eating a lot of fruit and sweet stuff increases our blood sugar levels, but it's also very high in fructose. Now, that's why I sometimes hear people say, oh, I shouldn't eat fruit. It's very high in fructose. No, fruit is good for us. It's bursting with antioxidants, vitamins, minerals that we need. It also contains fiber. So that's why you might be thinking you're doing yourself a great favor in the morning by having a glass of apple juice or orange juice or whatever juice you drink. You're actually not, and you're putting yourself at huge risk of turning on this biological switch, which I'm going to explain in a little bit more detail once I've gone over the mammalian survival techniques. So when the bear, for instance, is eating all this fruit, he's ingesting, or she is ingesting, a lot of fructose. Well, fructose has this unique biological pathway in our bodies. What essentially happens is any type of food, when we eat it, gets converted into energy. That usable form of energy is adenosine triphosphate, ATP for short. Don't worry about the names too much. It's just to sort of give you a brief overview of why fructose is kind of a strange one. So ATP is great. We want high levels of ATP in our body. And if we eat too much energy, as in too many calories, just too much energy, it gets stored as fat, because that is how nature would have us. If we've got, if we're eating more than we need, it will store it for fat, so that in a leaner period, we can then pull on those fat resources, or indeed a period when we have not got enough water to drink, we can pull on those fat resources, which brings this back to this dehydration model. So back to the bear, he's eating all these berries, his fructose is like sky high. When fructose interacts with the cells of the body, it actually makes the ATP levels suppressed. It drives those down. So that's why if you're eating a high sugar diet, or you're eating a lot of processed foods or packaged goods or cakes or biscuits or crackers or sauces or condiments, and so many foods have got high fructose, corn syrup in them, for instance, not fruit, because fruit contains fiber. Fiber delays the delivery of the fructose into the body. Fruit is good. Eat Fruit. You can have 2-3 pieces of fruit every single day and remain completely healthy. I normally have at least 3 pieces or portions of fruit every single day. Absolutely love it. You do not get fat on fruit. You get fat on the fruit juices because you're getting this high hit of fructose, like the bear who's busy gobbling up all these berries for his long hibernation throughout the winter months. So fructose is driving down the ATP. So it's driving down the energy levels in your cells, which is making you feel sluggish after you've had sweets or cakes or whatever it might be. Your fructose levels in your body are getting high. So ATP, energy, is going down. Fructose is also having a negative impact on leptin, which is one of our satiety hormones. Leptin tells us when we've eaten enough. So imagine you're eating the stuff that's making this fructose fire off, making you store fat, which is reducing your ability to burn fat as well, but it's also making you feel less energized. So you're feeling a bit more sluggish. So you're thinking, oh, I might just eat a bit more. Plus your leptin is telling you, oh, I think you're hungry again. Let's eat some more. And so unless you actually get out of that sweet food loop, you're really going to do yourself some damage. And I will explain that in more detail in a minute. Going back to the camel and the whale. So the camel is in the desert for a long period of time, has obviously its hump, which is full of fat. The camel obviously goes through long periods of its life when it has scarcity of water and food, probably. But for the purposes of this, it is going to be converting that fat into water for its survival. Same with the whale. The whale does not drink salt water. The whale needs to create its own water, which is why the whale is completely covered in massive amount of fat. Apart from it helps to insulate it from the cold depths, but it also is a source of water and hydration for the whale. Obviously, whales do not eat fruit, but they eat krill and things like that. But the same thing applies. So when it is that survival technique, although the whale is not necessarily associated with berries, probably the camel is not associated with berries so much like the bear would be, but it's the formation of the fat, which this biological switch is designed to help us stay alive in periods of leanness in water, leanness in food. So I hope that makes sense and sort of gives you a good overview of why this biological switch actually happens. The problem with us as humans is we eat far too much fructose, not the fruit. So it is those packaged goods, it's the processed foods, it's basically giving us too much fructose in our bodies that we are then reducing the leptin. So we're thinking we're hungry and we're actually not. The fructose is turning to fat. It's also blocking the ability for the body to burn fat. And we end up in this very difficult predicament where we're hungry, we have these terrible sugar cravings, we're eating the wrong foods, and we're just getting fatter and fatter. And you might think, but I'm actually eating quite healthily. I eat the low sugar, low salt ketchup. I have, I have the low sugar sweets. I just don't drink that much soda. These things all contain high fructose corn syrup. I think in the UK we're better than in the States as far as the ingredients go. Some of our ketchups don't contain high fructose corn syrup, whereas in the States a lot of them do. But you do need to become really aware of packaged goods, the condiments, the sauces, the salad dressings. A lot of those contain high fructose corn syrup. So, and just the orange juices, the apple juices, whichever juice you're drinking, jams, spreads, they all contain high amounts of fructose, whether it's high fructose corn syrup or just fructose in and of itself without the fiber. That is what is causing this issue. And it wasn't until relatively recently that we discovered that the body can actually create its own fructose. It's creating fructose, not a lot of it, but it does every single day. Now, when we are allowing ourselves to become dehydrated, as well as the fructose that we're eating far too much of in our packaged foods, processed foods, etc., because the body also creates its own fructose, we're having this fructose overload. That signifies to the body that you are in survival. It signifies to the body that you need to go in and probably lay down fat for the next period of lean, even though that period of lean is never actually going to happen. So what happens is that if you were in a starvation position, then yes, that actually would come in quite handy for you, because you're going to have all this fat laid down, and it's going to help keep you alive until you can actually find a source of food again, or indeed it'll help you survive long periods of without, dehydration. But this is not, we don't want to put ourselves in a significant survival situation like that. What we need to be mindful of is that the more fructose that we're eating, our body's thinking, time to get ready for hibernation. So I'm just going to lay down the fat. And with that biological trigger of subduing your leptin response, it also has a negative impact on your insulin, which is one fat storing hormone. You end up in this very, very vicious circle of just laying down fat. And the simplest way to help get over this is to drink more water. And there are more and more studies coming out now that are indicating if you have a high salt diet as well as a high sugar diet, that you are a much greater risk of developing obesity, if not that you are already obese. So how to know that you're drinking enough water? Take a look at the colour of your pee. It should be a pale straw colour. If you're taking vitamins, and some medications can also affect the colour of your pee, you don't want it totally clear, because you're probably flushing out vital electrolytes from your body too. So it's not about becoming ridiculously obsessed with water, but it is being aware of the amount that you need to drink to be healthy, and it's probably more than you're currently drinking already. Be aware of foods that contain high fructose, so that's your concentrated juices, or even freshly pressed juices. They're not going to have the fiber in them, and it's the fiber that slows down the release of the fructose into the body. If you drank a glass of orange juice over a period of 4 hours, it's going to have a negligible impact on how fructose affects your ATP levels. But who drinks a glass of orange juice over 4 hours? Most of us, we have a little carton with a straw and we neck it. Lunch boxes have always got these fruit juices in, which probably is contributing to the rising levels of obesity in our school children too. We think we're doing them a favour. We're not. They're better off to eat the orange and to eat the apple and have a bottle of water. And they may rebel a bit, but long term, it has to be done, because otherwise we're just negatively impacting their welfare and setting them up for diabetes and the very many other nasties that come with weighing too much. And I say weigh too much with a caveat, because it's not about weighing too much, it's about getting rid of our excess fat. You want to focus on lean muscle building. When you have lean muscles in your body, they actually help to get some of the glucose, the sugar, out of your bloodstream directly. So it's not just about making sure that you're drinking enough water and managing, reducing your processed foods and your refined sugars. You really want to be strength training, particularly menopausal women. Make sure that you're strength training regularly, because that helps prevent or reduce the risk of osteoporosis, which is brittle bone disease. It keeps your muscles lean and strong. And I think one of the biggest benefits of it is the fact that if you've got more muscle, you can eat more. I don't know, I don't want to be pushing a few bits of food around a plate and sort of chewing it 20 times because I've not got enough on my plate, because my body's sort of screeched to this halt of stuck in this situation where I no matter what I eat, I put weight on because my body's gone into this survival mechanism. You want to focus on building lean muscle. Eat whole foods like our ancestors would do. Make sure you're walking enough. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. Make sure you're focusing on your sleep, because sleep has a really important effect on our satiety hormones too. And if I sleep badly, one of my dogs has had an upset tummy this last week, and I've been up 3, 4, 5 times a night. My sleep has been so badly disrupted. I've seen more fluff around my middle. I've really had to control my urge to not eat the sweeter things, including drinking wine in the evening. Your body, your brain just says, go for the sweet stuff. And you just have to be really aware that that's going to happen. On days like that, I make sure I really load up high on protein first thing. I've also just started baking my own sourdough. So I've been making sourdough banana loaves, sourdough scones, and of course, those aren't the healthiest things either. I don't put anything like the sugar that they say you should do in these recipes. It's just like that. But then I don't eat much sugar, so I'm very sensitive to that sort of thing. So just know if you're stuck in that situation, you can get out of it. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water, whole foods, reduce your sweets, cut out cakes, cut out refined foods, cut out processed foods, cut out going to the drive-through, even if it's just for a couple of weeks while you regain your leptin sensitivity. while you regain some insulin sensitivity. It's not like you've got to cut them out forever, but then when you do go back to them, use them as treats and not as the everyday thing that you might be doing right now. Or the alternative is you just end up obese and all the nasties that come with that, and an increased risk of early death. And if you've got kids as well, you want to be making sure that they are growing up understanding how to eat, that water is incredibly important for them, so that we can reduce that childhood obesity rate that is continuing to soar at the moment. And it is difficult because food labels food is designed to keep us addictive to it. And I think food marketing labels have got so much to answer for. But at the end of the day, it's down to each and every single one of us to take the responsibility for our own health and educate ourselves. If you're watching this, well done you, because you're educating yourself on how to lead a healthier, better life, a more energized life. So I would really recommend focus on fat loss, focus on building lean muscle, feed your body like you would have done your ancestors or our ancestors, and use food as whole food. Cut out the packaged stuff. And yes, you might think you're doing yourself a favor because you can pop it in the microwave and 2 minutes later it's ready, but think about the long-term cost on your health. A couple of minutes in the microwave versus several days in hospital because of the various things when they start to break down. You cannot compare them. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm not saying that to scaremonger. It's a very real reality, and it's down to us to make that difference. So salt in the right amount is good for us. Salt, too much of it is bad for us, same as sugar. And be very aware of this fructose that is making your body think, okay, I'm getting ready to go into hibernation, but you're not. You're not facing a period of lean, which is what you're telling yourself. Your body biologically is thinking that you're getting ready to get into this period of lean, which is why I wanted to explain the story of the bear and how that prepares and lays down its fat ready for hibernation, and also how we can, the fat when we're dehydrated. So dehydration, the body again thinks, oh, I better start converting glucose into fructose and laying down more fat because I'm dehydrated. So it's a really simple thing to overcome. Drink more water, eat proper food, sleep well, move your body, and strength stay. Anything in particular that you can take away from today's episode? I hope that you understand already how much you should be drinking, but look out for the pale colour, sort of pale straw colour for your pee. That'll be one of the best indicators that you're drinking enough. So thank you for your company today, and I look forward to chatting with you again next week.